Okay. Good morning, all of you. Uh, Welcome again, Mr. Swapnil Misri. Um, the first session, uh, he has covered the things like installation of React and then npn using npn yarn how to create our own package. Then he also um, uh, covered the topic like installation of libraries, then what are the states, props, and life cycle of components, so and so forth. So today, again, we are welcoming Mr. Swapnil Misri that he is going to cover the different kinds of topic like components, functional components like refs, use effects, hooks, and the other stuff remaining in React. So I again welcome Swapnil Misri. Hand over to you, Swapnil.
Yeah, thank you everyone. I know it's Saturday, and thanks everyone for coordinating and bearing with me. We'll try to finish this session as soon as possible. And all,
Excuse me, Swapnil.
yes, sir.
Yes, one thing I forgot. All of us participant, please turn on your camera. Okay, one second, one second. Others, I am requesting, please, if you can turn on your camera. Okay. Thank you, participants. Swapnil, please carry forward.
Yeah. So I was just saying thanks for bearing with me on Saturday and coordinating because I know it's the weekend and everyone wants to enjoy with their family. But we'll try to cover most of the concepts as soon as possible. Yeah. And just request you can address me directly with name. Yeah. No need to call sir. Okay. So starting with that, as sir said that we cover a couple of concepts in the previous session, like how can you create your React project using different tools like yarn and npm. Apart from that, we studied couple of additional things like what are the states, what are the refs, what are use effects, what are life cycle method, and couple of different stuffs. So continuing with that, I will just like to brief you towards the agenda which we will be covering in this session, right? So the very first thing which we will be covering will be is that we will be taking a look at React router dom, like what's actually a React router dom. Yeah. And then I'll be also traversing you to couple of UI libraries, so you can go ahead and use any one of them. But right now, for the sake of demonstration, all those purposes, we will using React Strap as specified in the agenda, right? Apart from that, once we are done with these two things, we'll try to develop a single page application, a simple one, which will be nothing but the a to-do list using React Strap and whatever concepts which we have learned so far in previous session in coming forth in today's session. Yeah. And then once we are done with all these things, what we'll be doing is we will be creating our Git account and just trying to push all the things which we have done to your Git repo, so that you guys get the context of complete flow from development to how can you keep track of the versions of your applications. Yeah. So let's just get started with, let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm assuming that you guys are able to see the screen. Okay, so just give the heads up in chat if you are able to see the screen. And yeah, okay, sounds good. So what we'll be doing is we'll be using the same application which we used in the prior session, which is nothing but app1. So what I will be doing is I will just try to open it in the code editor, just opening the command prompt. Okay, so we have a command prompt with us, and I will just open it in the VS Code, which we are using as a code editor. So I will just close this stuff. I will just move it, things out over here. Yeah. Just a second. I think I opened the wrong directory. Just a second. Okay, yeah. So this is the directory on which we were working on, which is nothing but app one. And we covered couple of concepts as you can see on the right hand side of the screen. We just went through what are props, what are refs, what are states, what are use effects, and couple of additional things. Now what we'll be doing is we'll be going through a new library today, which is called as React Router DOM. So there is an official documentation for it. So if I just go and search React Router DOM on the browser, right? So the very first link which you get, which is nothing but this reactrouter.com. So I will just paste this link in the chat so that you guys can access it too. And what this library is responsible for, so this library is eventually responsible for routing between different pages in your application. So let's say if I consider the example like where we have home page, where we have about page, and where we have contact info. So how can you route between these pages, right? So in React we can use something called as React Router DOM to achieve it. Okay, and they have provided lots of things over here. So let's say if you are building an application which has authentication, all those stuff, so they have all those support. They have couple of documentation over here. But for the sake of this session, what we'll be doing is we will be concentrating on installation part, and we'll be taking a look at the basic routing, like how basic routing can be implemented using this library. So nothing fancy over here. We will be doing this exact same thing which has been listed over here. So if you see, we also have a code base, and we'll be traversing through it, like what each and everything is responsible for doing. Okay, so let's just get started with it. Right now I am in my code editor. I will just close couple of other tabs which were already present. Okay, I will open my packet.json. So as specified earlier, whatever modules and libraries which you install for this package will be listed in this dependency. So right now I don't have a React Router DOM present in it. So how can I install it? So what I will do is I will open my terminal, which is present inside VS Code. Now I remember people created projects using two things. Someone created either using Yarn, or someone created either using npx, right? So for people who have created this project using Yarn, how can you install this library, right? So what you can do is you can write Yarn add and followed by the library name. So what's the library name which we are having over here? So if you go over here, it's nothing but React Router DOM. Okay, and for people who have actually created it using npm, right? So you can clearly see the command on the website itself, like how can you install this library using npm. So just go ahead to your terminal. So instead of using yarn add, you will copy this entire command like npm install React Router DOM and hit enter. So this should install the library for you. So since I'm using yarn, I will use yarn. So yarn add React Router DOM and just hit enter. So this will start installing the package for me. Okay, so you see that the process has begun. We'll wait for a couple of minutes until it gets installed. And once this libraries get installed, you should see the same thing listed over here. So let's
Hello, Swapnil.
yes sir.
Can you able to put this command in the chat box?
Yeah, sure. So the first command is for people who have created it using yarn, and I'm pasting second command for people who have created using npm. Okay, just to avoid the confusions we had in previous session. Yeah, so okay. Okay, so now as you can see that the installation is completed, and we should see some difference over here. So you can see that we have added a new package to our project called as React Router DOM, and that's it. This is how easy installing a specific package in your React project is. You need to just run npm install followed by project name if you are using npm, or yarn add followed by your library name if you are using yarn. Okay, so once this is installed, you should see this entry in your dependencies inside packet.json. And now we are good to use this package. Okay, so how will we use this package? Okay, so the very first thing, if I
So,
go over here, yeah ma'am.
excuse me, please wait. It's getting installed.
Okay, so just let me know in the chat when this library is installed. We can just go ahead. Okay, so we have two people who have installed the package. Yeah,
Yes.
anyone was having the doubt?
Yes, yes. Sir, actually, on your machine it is very fast, but on my machine it is not doing anything after the command.
Yeah, so it depends on your system. Like my machine is working on 16 GB RAM, so and also my connectivity speed is quite fast. So it depends on
Oh,
system to system and connectivity.
uh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So we have a question over here. What will be added in packet.json? So I was saying, trying to say that when you install this package, okay, so you should see the entry of your package in packet.json. You manually don't have to edit anything inside packet.json. Just to give you brief, like the library is successful install. Okay, so you should see your package name which you recently installed, followed by the version which has been installed on your system. So in this case, when I installed React Router DOM, it got installed with this name and followed by the version. So in this case, it's 5.2.0. So the latest version of React Router DOM is nothing but 5.2.0. Okay, and you might notice one thing over here. You see a caret symbol over here. So whenever this caret symbol is present and whenever you try to install anything, what this will do is this will take a look at the latest version which is available for that package. Okay, so let's say after 1 month, I give this project to someone else, right? Now, when I provide this project to someone else, they don't have libraries installed on the system, right? So they will have to install this library on the system. So when they install the library on the system, after 1 month, it's possible that the new version of this package is listed. So it may be something like 5.2.x. So in this case, this caret sign will take a look like is there any package available or the version of the package available which is greater than the current version, which is nothing but 5.2.0. So in this case, it will install the latest version. Okay. And what if you don't want to install the latest version and if you want to proceed with the same version? So what you can do is while giving project to someone else, you can remove this caret symbol. Okay, so this will make sure that whenever any of the packages installed, it uses the same exact version which is specified in this file. Okay, so this is the significance of this caret version in your package.json. Okay, and yeah, so now like most of the people are done, we will just take a look like what should we do next. Okay, so again I will follow the same approach. I will just create the new directory which we were doing in a previous session. So I will create a new folder over here which will be nothing but React Router demo. Okay, so in this case I will create a new file, okay, which will be nothing but something like router demo.js. Okay, so again we will be creating a default template which we used to create earlier. So this was the default template which we used to create earlier. We used to import React followed by this function and exporting that function. Okay, again note that to maintain conveniency we have kept the function name and the file name as same. Okay, I will just remove this. I will just as of now I will just return React router to make sure my project is running properly. I will just save it. Again, I will go back to my index.js. Just comment the previous stuff which was already present with me.
Hello, Swapnil.
Yes, sir.
Swapnil, in chat box, one madam is saying, please, can you zoom the screen?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Is it visible now?
Ah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Uh, Also, let me just open snipper.io so that everyone can access the code later. So this is some game, I think. Just a second. I think if Ashish sir is there, sir, can you ping the link again? I forgot the name of the.
Snipper
Yes,
dot
what?
I. Uh,
Hello.
Yeah,
Just go
sir.
to snipper.io.
Okay. It's showing video game, so
No, it should not.
Right, it's posted in the chat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
So the thing is actually when we put it on over here, once our session is also over now,
Yeah.
that link is still live. So people can do it afterwards also. That's why I'm telling you to put it on Snipper.
Okay. I will just copy this. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so sounds good. Now, yeah, so we were over here in index.js. Just to summarize quickly, we create a new directory called as React Router Demo. Inside that, we create a new file called as Router Demo, and this Router Demo has basic snippet which we used to create earlier. Okay, so I will just import it again over here. Import Router Demo. So we have imported it over here, and instead of patch data, we will use Router Demo over here just
बस
to
तो
make.
बस मोबाइल क्या नहीं बस
And then what we can do is we can start a project. I forgot to start my project. So again, we will run the basic command for starting the project. Hope you guys remember it. For people who are using yarn, you can yarn start, and people who are using npm can run npm start. Okay. So just hit enter. So this should run my project on my local browser. So just wait for it until it gets started. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so we have React router over here. So now let's just hop in to see like how can we use this library. Okay, great. So as per the docs, you can see over here, the very first thing is that we have provided with basic routing. And what are they trying to say in this example? Is that they have three pages over here. So we have three pages like home page, about page, and user page, right? And what we should able to do is we should able to just navigate through these pages whenever someone clicks on that button or someone clicks on that link. Okay. So how can we achieve that, right? So we will follow this convention. Like how can we use it? So if you can take a look like the way they have imported it. Okay, so we'll follow the same approach. So if I try to open it side by side. Okay, so let's just go to router demo over here. Okay, so right now we just have basic template created with us. Let's just try to do what they are trying to do over here, right? So we will import that library. So I will just import that library, right? So we'll just import it from it's React Router DOM. Okay. Now we need to import couple of stuff over here. Okay. So the very first thing is nothing but browser router, right? As router. We will just take a look in a while like what these things mean. Then we'll have switch. So this library is responsible for routing you to these pages like this component. Then this switch helps you to navigate to different pages. Okay. Then we have something called as route. So inside this route, you will specify which component which you want to render when someone is visiting any specific page. And then we have something called as link over here. Okay. So what this does is it just specifies the link to the page where you want to navigate. Okay. So this is some simple stuff which you want to use it from React Router DOM. Okay. So we already have a function ready. Now what we need to do is instead of returning div, we have some higher order components already present. So as they are saying that whenever you create any application, okay, you need to wrap your entire application inside this, which is called as router. Okay. So what we'll be doing is we'll be creating router over here. Router. Okay. So there's one thing which you might have noticed. We have imported browser router as router. Okay. If you don't want to do it this way, you can remove this. And instead of router, you can use browser router directly over here. But just for the sake of convenience and keeping the name short, we have renamed browser router as router and we are using that over here. Okay. So we have router over here in place. Now we will just create a nav bar. So nav bar is nothing but something which you should see on the top for navigating through different pages. So we have nav over here. So this is what we are trying to do. And one more thing to note over here is that since we should return a single JXS element, we'll be wrapping this inside div, which they have specified. Okay. And then they have created a simple HTML stuff where we will have an order list, and inside every unordered list, we will have a list, which is nothing but the link to the page. Okay. So link and this too. So this is one thing. And this link usually specifies where we want to navigate. Things will be quite clear when we actually look at the demonstration. What does this mean? So as of now, I will just try to follow the approach what they're trying to do. Again, we have another list over here. So I will just copy this. So we have three pages with us. Okay. So we have home page, about page, and user page. So I will just name it as about page, and I will just name it as user page. Okay. Then so we will now we need to go to about page when someone clicks on about link, and we need to go to user page when someone clicks on user. Okay. So this is one thing which we need to do. So over here we are done with the basic agenda. Okay. So if I click on save, okay, so we should have basic thing ready with us, right? So if I go to app, you should see this thing, basic things like home, about, and user. Now, the very first thing which we need to keep in mind is nothing but the domain route over here. So we are running our project on localhost 3000. Okay. If you take a look at this link over here, we have specified something called as 2, and 2 is nothing but just slash. Okay. So this slash usually specifies your home page. Okay. So whatever component which you want to render will be specified by slash. So in this case, you see the home is in different color over here. Okay. Then if I click on about, like what's happened if I click on about? So if I click on about, you see that my URL is getting changing to about. Okay. But at the bottom of the screen, nothing is happening because we haven't still returned a component for that about page or that user page. Similarly, if I click on user, you should see that we are navigating to a user page, and that's what we have specified in link. So whenever someone clicks on this link, we should navigate to that specific page. Okay. So for about, we are navigating to about. For user, we are navigating to user. And from home, we are navigating to the main domain URL which our website is having. So in this case, since we are running it on a local, so it's nothing but localhost 3000. Okay. So now let's see what they have done next. Okay. So now they have used something called a switch. So they have also specified like what this switch does. So it looks to that children which is present inside this route and renders the first that matches the current URL. Okay. So we will be doing the same thing over here. So inside this router, we will create new thing, which is nothing but, a switch just to navigate between the pages. So this is how we will do it. Then we'll have route over here. Okay. So we will have route and the path where which you want to navigate. Okay, so the path will be nothing but about. So ABOUT. Okay. So note that whatever link to you are providing over here and path you are providing over here should be same. Okay, and followed by the component inside this route. So in this case, it's about. Okay. So right now we haven't created this component yet, but we will be creating this component in a while. Okay, then we have another route which is nothing but users. Okay, so which is nothing but user. So we will be creating another component which is called as user. Then we have another route which is called as home. So let's just keep home at the top. Okay, so this path is belongs to home. So we have home over here. Okay, so we created these three paths, but now we don't have this components created, so nothing will happen. And even if I try to save this, I will get the error in my console. As you can see, like the home, about, and user is not defined. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to actually create this component. Okay, so how can we create this component? Again, we will be following the basic agenda. So we will create three components inside this project directory. Now, inside this demo, you might have noticed that they have created this three component in the same file itself. But just to maintain the file structure, what we'll be doing is we'll be creating them inside our directory. Okay. So inside our React Router demo, I will create new file which is called as home.js. Use the default template. So this is home. Now I will just return something like welcome to home page. We are not accepting any props. This is just a simple demonstration. Okay.
Huh?
And what I will do is I will copy this stuff and create two more things over here, which is nothing but my about and user. So I will create new file which is called as about.js. Just paste it over here. Just change the name of the component. So in this case,
Namaste.
this will be about, and we will just name it welcome to the about page. Okay, and we have one more component which is nothing but user. Just create the new file user.js. Again, change the component name, just user, export the user from your file, and welcome to user page. Okay, so relatively simple. Now, since we have created this component, we need to import it in our main file to use it. So what we will be doing is we will be importing them one by one. So importing the component name. So in this case, home from, since it's in same directory, we will use this. The same thing will be repeated for other two components. So in this case, this will be nothing but about. So we need to import about from about. Okay, and then finally we need to import user from user. Okay, so user from user. Okay, so that's good. Now if I click on save, so you see that the error has disappeared. And if I go back to my browser, let's just go to the browser and check what we see. Okay, so now you see that whenever we are on this URL, we see something called as welcome to home page. Okay, so this navbar is going to be constant for your all pages, right? So that it's easy for user to navigate between different pages with respect to the pages which you are on, right? So now we are on home page. If I go to about, you should see we are at about. And if I go to user, you should see we are at user, but I see nothing is happening. I think I forgot to save or something like that. Let's just see. I can save it and just check what's happening. Still nothing is happening. We'll just take a look like what they are trying to do over here. It seems I forgot something. Or instead of this, what we can do is I will just pass something called as component which I want to render. So instead of this about, we'll just remove this thing. I will just write something called as about over here. Just remove this thing. I will do the same thing. Component name user. Again, I will remove this thing. Everything is working. And the component which I want to render over here is nothing but home page. Okay. And there is another thing which I will specify over here. An additional prop which they accept is exit. So what this specifies is that it's nothing but we should match the exact path which we are specifying over here. So let's just try to add that over here and see if we are on the same page. And I think we are getting some error. Let's just try to go because we haven't closed this thing. Okay, sounds good. So now, yeah, so now if you can take a look at it, if I go to home page, we are able to see welcome to home page. If I go to about page, you are able to see welcome to about page. And if I go to users page, you are able to see welcome to user. Let me just zoom in a bit if it's not visible. Yeah. So yeah, so again, if you go and as well as just notice at the top, the URL is also getting changed. So about is there, user is there. Okay, so this is just the simple demonstration of React Router DOM used for navigating between different pages. And also keep in mind that this is also a single page application. Okay, even though we are having multiple pages in our application, why is this a single page application? Okay, so the reason behind that is that if you take a look at the title over here, when I try to navigate between any of these pages, my page is not getting reloaded. So let's say if I go and try to reload it, you can see a loading icon over here, right? So if it's not a single page application, if you try to navigate between different pages, you should see a loading icon on the top besides title. But for this, we are not seeing that. So if you take a closer look, when I am trying to switch between the pages, right, it's not loading the entire page. It's just rendering the component, which means that this is nothing but a single page application. Okay, even though we have multiple pages with us.
हाँ
Okay.
सोहम.
Yeah. So just to recall, we made couple of
19.
changes over here. So we didn't do exactly what they were doing because we were getting some errors. So what we exactly did over here. So let's just try to recall that. Okay, so what we did, I will just close this terminal as of now. Okay, so if you take a look at the code closer, the imports are as it is. Just we have imported React over here. Then we have imported basic things required for React router now, which is nothing but browser router, switch, route, and link. We have already looked like what these things are responsible for doing. Then we have wrapped everything inside this route, which means my entire application is wrapped inside this parent tag called as router. Okay, then we created a simple div, because as per the rules of React or JSX, we must always return a single JSX element. So everything what we are trying to return is wrapped inside this single div. Okay, then we create a simple navbar, and this navbar is nothing but an order list which is having few links, and these links are responsible for navigating to different pages. So in our case we have three pages, so we have home, about, and user. Okay, and once the user clicks on this link, we are specifying like which page to navigate to. So if it's home, we are routing to main domain name. If it's about, we are routing to domain name slash about. If it's user, then we are navigating to domain name slash user. And this is what we need to instruct to switch. So whenever someone clicks on the link, we need to switch the to different components which we are having, right? So if someone visit this path, which is exact similar to what we are specifying over here in 2, so we should render a component which is called as home page component, and the same goes to these two which are present over here. And note that we are specifying another thing over here which is called as exit. So this exit specifies like whatever you specify to should match whatever is present in this browser over here. So this exit specifies the same thing. Then just to add one more thing, what you can do is, let's say if user tries to navigate to some different pages through the link, right? So you can show some messages like, hey, we cannot find the page we are looking for, right? And just try the home page. So we can add one more component over here which is called as route. Okay, and simply just return the component which is called as page not found, right? So we haven't created this component, we will just create this component now. But just notice that we are not providing these things, right? So let's say if this switch or React router is not able to find any of the part which has been specified, then it will have fallback to this path which is nothing but page not found. Okay, so let's just try to see this in action. Let's just create a new component inside our existing directory called as page not found .js. We will use the existing template. Just wait for it. We are not accepting any props. Okay, so we will just return we cannot find a page you were uh, you were looking for. Okay, and we also want to make sure that whenever someone hits this page, we want to provide the option to user to navigate to a home page, right? So that's what we'll be doing over here. What we'll be doing is we'll be using link from React router DOM over here, from React router DOM. Just a second, React router DOM. Okay, so link. Okay, and we want to make sure is that we want to add a link over here. We'll say try the home page, right? Simple. And we also want to make sure that we want to specify where to redirect user, right? So this specifies home page, and that's what we have specified over here. So this to specifies home page, And for the component, we are also specifying home page over here for this main domain name. Okay. So if I click on save, I just try to import it over here. Import just page not found from page not found. Just save it. Okay. So now if I go over here, you should see no difference. But let's say if someone tries to manually go to some different page like test page or something like that, right? You should say something like we cannot find page you're looking for, try the home page, and you can click on it and you can see that we have navigated to the home page successfully. So this is how you can use React routing to your use case. So we can also take a look at some of the example. If I go to Flipkart or Amazon, like if I go to any of the websites over here, I'm pretty sure they might be doing something like this. So if I go to something like this, see, they are doing the same thing. It's just we are having some UI difference depending upon our structure, and they are having some UI difference depending upon their structure. So they're also saying that unfortunately we cannot find the page we are looking for. You can go to home page, and if you have website something like this, then I think this is pretty much advantageous to your user experience, right? So this is how we can use React Router now. What I will be doing is I will be creating this file and adding it in snipper.io so that you guys can give it a try. Okay. So let's just try to rename it. I'm not sure if I can rename it. We'll create new file called as homepage.js. Language is nothing but JavaScript. Just create it. I will close this because this is not required, right? Okay. So I will just take the home page. What I will do is I will just add home page over here. I would like you guys to try different components. So I will just add two files over here, the home page and the one which is needed, which is nothing but this router demo page. Okay. And I want you guys to create the remaining components and try it out. Okay. So if I go over here, I will create another file, router demo.js. This is again a JavaScript file. Okay. So I will just paste this thing over here. I will just remove this stuff. I just want to so that you guys can just play around with it. I will also remove this stuff. So as of now in this code base, I'm just providing you guys with the home page. I want you guys to try it by creating some different components and traversing through this component. Okay. And yes, if you guys want, I can provide one more file, which is nothing but index.js. So I will just create a new file for you guys. Index.js. Again, this is going to be a JavaScript file. And yeah, I think yeah. So I'm good with this. Let me know if you guys face any issues or need any help. We can take a look at those ones. And also do let me know in the command box once you are done with this.
Swapnil,
Yeah, ma'am.
I'm having a doubt. The first command itself, I got the error. That is
Uh, mhm.
uh, some yarn.ps1 file cannot be loaded because the running script is disabled on this system.
uh, uh, what command did you run?
I run the command yarn add react dash router hyphen dom.
Yeah, so I think that's the issue with Yarn on your system. You also notified us in the previous session, but it's working fine with npm on your system, right?
No, but for NPN also it is giving me the error.
No, I think you have written npn, not npm.
I have written npm install react dash router dash
Mhm.
dom npm. Same command I have. Whatever you have typed in the chat box, same thing I had given. But
Okay,
for that also I got the error.
okay. So can you try running it in administrator?
Hmm,
Like run terminal in administrator mode and try to execute that command
okay.
from the directory where you have your project created.
Hmm. So I should go to that particular folder, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah, exactly.
Swapnil, I got 2, 3 warning,
Hmm.
but after that it is proceeding further.
Okay.
Why the same thing didn't work in the terminal in the VS Code?
So it's possible that VS Code might not have permissions to modify system settings or run some scripts. So yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. How do you get the default template for JS file? Is there any shortcut?
Yeah, I have installed a couple of shortcuts, but I don't remember them right now. Just a second. I will just find out and let you know in
Sure.
couple of minutes. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, for people who want to just install this, what we say, the auto snippet, you can what you can do is okay, you can go to these extensions, okay, and try searching this thing, React JS code snippets. Okay, so you will have some different options, something called as install rather than uninstall. Just go ahead and click on install, and this will install this extension for you. And from there, after installing this, you can use the sample templates which I'm using for creating component default functional components.
Thank you, sir.
We will just wait for more 5 minutes and then continue with other stuff.
Sir, it got
Yeah.
installed, but it is saying that found 8 vulnerabilities.
It's
Four
fine.
moderate.
These are just warnings.
Okay,
Uh,
four moderate and four high.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's fine. These are just warnings. Okay. Okay, great. So I think everyone is done with this part. We can proceed with other stuff as there are a couple of things which are pending with us. So the next part which we will be covering in this session is nothing but some of the UI libraries which we can use for making our websites a bit better. Okay, so there are a couple of libraries available in the market. As per the session, it was mentioned that we should cover something called as Reextract. I haven't used it. I am going to try it with you guys as of now. Okay, but along with Reextract, there are a couple of other libraries available. Right. So I think Reextract is something similar to what Bootstrap provides. So if you go to something called as React Bootstrap. Okay, so I'm just jotting down the names which are available as of now. You guys can later decide, like in future, what libraries you will like to go for. So the one thing which is the one library which was listed was React. Okay, so the other libraries which I'm aware about for web development is nothing but React Bootstrap. This is also component based. So if I go to components, there are a couple of components available over here. The other library which is available is called as Material UI. Okay, so this Material UI, just a second, Material UI for React. So this is developed by Google. Okay, so and this is really a great library to start with. This is also component based. There are lots of additional components which are present over here. So you can use any one of them. Okay, so there are three libraries as of now. I will just paste this link in the chat box. The first one is React Step, which we'll be using in this session. Okay. Then we have second one, which is called as React Bootstrap. So if I go to home page, yeah. So this is nothing but a React Bootstrap. And then the third one is the Material UI. Just to give you the context, all these libraries are responsible for doing the same thing. It's nothing but providing a way to look your UI a bit better. So you can use any one of them. So we will be going on with this React strap. Okay, so now this is the official page, like React strap. Okay, and it's saying that we have a couple of things available with us. There are different components and different themes available with us. I'm not sure about themes because I haven't explored it. But the components are going to be somewhat similar to other UI libraries which are available. Okay, so we have couple of components available over here. But the very first thing comes in mind is that how can we install it, right? So it's completely similar to what we did for React Router DOM. It's nothing but npm install React Strap. Okay, we don't need to install React and React DOM because it's already installed on our system. So you can just run this command npm install React Strap for people who are using npm, and yarn add React Strap for people who are using yarn. Okay, so let's just try to install it in our project. So for this, I will just close the server for now. Just install it, yarn add and React Step, right? So I'll just copy this out and paste it out over here. Okay, so and again, as discussed, you should see something added inside your packet.json. So React Step should be added inside this dependency. Okay, we'll just wait for a minute until it gets installed. Until the time being, I think we can just traverse through couple of components which are available over here. The other part which we wanted to cover in this session was form. Okay, so we have a form related component over here. If you go to React Strap and inside components, we have something called as forms. Okay, and you should see a couple of things over here, as well as you can see the code over here, like how exactly you can implement form. Okay, and if I try to submit, it reloads the page. Yeah, so something like this. But there is one thing over here. You can't see a state over here, right? They have just provided the UI, like how UI should look, but they don't really have states. So we can try using it with states. Okay. So that will give a brief idea, like how can we use state with the existing UI library over here. Okay. So okay, so this installed on my system. React Strap is installed. Okay, so following the same approach what we do for other stuff, I will create a new directory over here. Okay, so this will be React app demo. Okay, and inside this I will create new file which is nothing but form demo. .js. So we will just see like how can we create form and add couple of validations using some existing components which what we say this provides, React step provides. So if we can try alert or something like that. Okay, so let's say what we'll be doing is let's just try creating a form with couple of fields like email address, password, and company password, and then we have just two buttons, submit and cancel. Okay, so on submit, if any of the field is empty, let's say email or any of the field, we will just show the alert which we show over here. Okay, or else we will have a cancel button, so on click on cancel our form should get reset. Okay, so we'll just try to mimic some of the behaviors. Okay, so let's just try to do it. So we have form demo over here. I will just go ahead with using default templates. This doesn't uses, so I will just pass as of now React Strap demo. Just save it. I will close other tabs which are already open for me. Again, inside index.js, just import this thing. Import, forgot the name of the form demo. We are importing form demo and just replace it with okay, form demo. Okay, just save it. I'm gonna restart my server, and we should see React step demo on our browser once it's loaded. So note we will be covering only one or two as per the requirements in the form, but there are a couple of additional components which you can use and explore, like spinners and animations and all those stuff are present over here. So using them is quite simple. You can refer this demonstration which they have provided over here. So this is one thing called as pagination. So let's say if you want to, you have multiple pages in your application, and so you can use this pagination instead of React router or whatever you would like to. Then we have tables, then we have navs, then we also have nav bars. So this is how the navbar actually looked like. So in React router, we didn't add any styling and all those stuff. But let's say in reality, if you would like to create your navbar for the website, then you can use this component, which is called as navbar from React Strap. So over here, we can have our home page, then user page, then about us page, something like that. So you can just go ahead and just explore a couple of things over here. Okay, and I think we will be using couple of other components present over here when we try to create a simple to-do list in today's session. So yeah, so let's just wait for it as of now. Sounds good. Okay, so now I have a React Strap demo written over here. Okay, so it's available within. So now let's just start using this library. I will just take it apart and open it side by side with my React tab and my code base so that we can just do side by side demonstration. So the very first thing which we'll be doing is we'll be using form. I'm just taking a look like how can we use the form. Okay, so yeah, so it's saying that we can use couple of options from this React step. So as of now, we will use something called as this label input form group and form. Okay, let's just try to import it over here. Okay, I'll just do it from React step. Just taking a look whether it's React step or not. Yeah, so they have imported this from React Strap. So just a second, did I miss something? Yeah, go at the top. Okay, so let's just try importing couple of stuff which is needed. I think my mouse got stuck. Just a second. So we will import form. Okay, and we will import form group over here. We are form group. we also need to display the label, right? So we will import label, okay, label, then input. I'm not sure we need form text. Uh, we will import it later if you want. So we will import a couple of this stuff. Mouse, just a second. Yeah. Okay. So now, as per the docs, what we will be doing is we will be wrapping this entire thing inside this single form. Okay. So we will create a form tag as of now. Then they have something called as form group. Okay. So they have something called as form group. So we will be using that. Let's just try to see what we see on the UI. So we have form group. They have done two things over here. So we will just grab this inside form group. Okay. Okay, let's just save it and try to see like what we see. Okay, just reload this. Okay, so we are seeing something like this. Okay, okay, just go to over here. Okay, so this is what we see over here, and as they have specified over here. Okay, so now what we will do is we will create our own fields. We will create three fields which are required for now. Okay, we will create this email and we will create password. Okay, so inside this form group we need this thing label as email. Okay, so I will just replace this label as email, and then I will specify this input over here. Okay, so let's just specify this input, and if I go back to the UI, let me just take it over here. Okay, okay, so we have this thing over here, email and what we say, the placeholder. Okay, so then we will do one more thing. We will add an another placeholder which is called as password. So we have a, just a second, we have an another form group which is called as password. So I will just grab this part, okay, and just add it over here. And okay, so we'll just take this part, just save it and see what we see. So we have we also have password over here. Okay, so we have two things available with us, but we don't see proper indentation, and I also don't see the UI which they are getting. Not sure about that, but let's continue with this as of now. And we should have two buttons available with us. So let's go to buttons and just try using any of this button which is available over here. So I will use this thing. We will just import this thing as of now. So button toggle is there, and then I should have something called as button. Okay, I will use this thing. Let's see we are able to see button or not. I'm not sure why the styling is not getting applied. Let's just try to restart the server and check. No, we'll still see the same thing. If I go to inspect this, mm, getting colors. I think we missed something in installation. Let's just go ahead and check that part once. Okay. Okay, so it's saying that React Strap doesn't have Bootstrap with it, so we need to also install it. So let's just try installing this Bootstrap and see like are we getting the right results. So I will just go ahead and install it. See after reloading, like are we getting something which is expected. Okay, and it's saying that we need to do one more thing. After installing this, we need to add this line in our index.js. Okay, so I will go back to my index.js and just add this line. Okay. So this is installed in my package. I see I have Bootstrap and I have React Strap. Let's just try to rerun this server and see we are getting expected result or not. Hoping that this will work. Yeah, so now it's working. So we missed couple of installation parts as of now. Okay, so what we need to do is now after installing React Strap, what we will do is we will install Bootstrap in our system. So I would like everyone to go ahead and install Bootstrap in the same project using the commands which we ran previously for installing it. Okay, once you have installed Bootstrap, okay, go to your index.js and add this file on the top. Okay, this import statement. Okay, and then rerun the server. So now when I start the server, I should see the placeholders and all those stuff with this. Okay, so now we can go ahead and start with what we are working on. Just go back to components. I will just go ahead with this thing, form. Okay, okay, sounds good now. Okay, so we have email and password. We will just make couple of improvements in the app. Okay, so yeah, so this is form page demo. I'm gonna close it. So the type is going name. We don't need ID for it. Okay. For placeholder, we need to make sure that there is something called as enter email. Okay. So enter email. Email and I don't think we also need this for now. Just get rid of this for. Type is password, name is ID is not required. The placeholder should be nothing but enter password. Okay, so enter. Save this step and reload it. Now we have something ready with us. Okay, so we have email with us, we have a password with us, and we have a small button over here. Okay, so now we need states in our application. So before that, we can change it to something called as submit. We can change the button name to submit. We will do some stylings later, but let's just try to concentrate on the functionality first. Okay, so we have something like this, and instead of button toggle, I just need button. I will just use button over here. I will also use button over here, and let's just try to see the buttons which are available. So if I can search for buttons. So we have button, and we need this small buttons or block level buttons. So I will use this small button. Okay, just copy this and paste it over here. So instead of small, this will be submit. Will be an ID submit. Just save it. Okay, so now we have submit over here. I will use another button over here, which is nothing but similar to what we have done. Just copy it and we will write something called as reset, and the color should be nothing but danger. So danger specifies red color over here. Primary specifies blue color over here. So you can take a look at the colors which you have over here. Okay. So for color primary, you should see something called as blue. For color secondary, you should see something like this. For color success, you should see green. For info, you should see blue, and so on. Okay. Then there's another property called as outline. Note that we haven't specified this property in our button, so that's the reason we are not showing button like this, but instead we are seeing something like this. Okay, so this is what you see over here. So we have submit and reset. We also have email and what we say passwords over here. Okay, and let's see whether it accepts. What other props does this input tag apps accepts? So if I go to input group, if I try to see the prop which are available. Okay, so let's say if I pass something called as value, value as test. Yeah, so we should see the default value over here. Okay, sounds good. So this accepts something called as value also. So now we are all set. We can concentrate on the functionality now. Okay, so now let's just try using states in our application. We do have form. We have only two things as of now. So we just have email and we just have password. So I will create two states, one for maintaining email and one for maintaining the password. Okay, so I will create two states over here. Okay, so the first one will be email, and just set the email. Okay, just set the email. Okay, we are gonna use state. Since the value which we are going to enter is going to be string, we are gonna add some empty string as of now. Okay, similarly we are gonna add something called as password and set password. Use state. Again the password is going to be empty as of now, so we have two things ready with us. Okay, so the other thing to note is that since this tag accepts something called as value, whenever we start typing something, that should get reflected in the text box, right? So the default value will be nothing but value which we are passing over here, and I'm hoping that it's accepting something called as on change. Yeah, so it's accepting. So what really happens is that whenever there's a change in this input, we should trigger something, right? So let's on change, we will call a function called as on email change. Okay, let's just create this function on the top. So let's just create a function over here. So let on email change. Okay, so on email change. Okay, now there's one thing to note over here. On change pass something to on email change. Okay, so which is nothing but event. So we get something called as event from this function. Okay, and we are going to use that event as of now. So as of now, just to demonstrate, I can console this item. Okay, so event dot target dot name. I will just console this when we start typing something. Okay, just save this stuff. Okay, I will come back to the app. I will just inspect it, like as we have discussed earlier. I will close this part. Okay, let's just try to see what happens if I try to write something. Okay, so in console you see something called as email, right? So on change something is happening, right? So on change what we will do is now we will just change the value of the state. So we will write set email to event.target.value. Okay, so whatever value which we are trying to type should be set in the state. Okay, and same should be reflected over here. Okay, so let's just try to inspect it again. We clear my console, reload the application just to be sure that everything is working fine. I will run it side by side. Okay, so let's just try to write something, right? So you can see that we are consoling out what we are typing in this command box. Okay, and that's what you see over here. So this is how you change the state of the application as well as the text box. And the same thing, we will do the same thing with the password. Okay, So we will create a new function, let on the password change. Okay, so on password change, we will also get something called as event, and this time we will be setting password to the same thing which we are setting in email, which is nothing but the value which we enter in the text box. So we have this thing ready over here. uh, for value and on change, we should also copy this part and add it over here. So the value now will be nothing but password, and on email change will be replaced by on password change. Okay, so this is done. Okay, now as of now we haven't added any functionality to our button, but we'll be adding them shortly. So let's just try to do with password. So for password also it's working as expected for us. Okay, so this is great. Okay, so now let's just try to add something to a button, but before that let's just try to style this thing a bit. uh, so if I click on this icon, right, so I have something called as form class. Let's just try to provide some styling to it. So the width should be 50%, right, and for me the width should be 50%. The display should be flex, right. The flex direction should be column. We want everything to be in a column. Okay, so this is what we can do over here as of now. Justify content to center, align items to center. Okay, I'm not, I know this is not looking that great, but we can try doing this. So let's just make it as 100%. So now everything is at the center. Okay, so everything has the center of the screen now. You can also provide height over here. So let's just provide height over here to something like 100%. I'm not sure 100 will work. Let's just provide 60 VH. Just provide 90. It went down. It went very down. Okay, let's just make sure it's at 85 VH. Okay, so this thing is looking good. I will copy this part as of now and store it somewhere. Okay, so I'm, let me just store it in Notepad plus plus as of now, just to make sure that we add the styling later. But now what we'll be doing is we'll be just adding what we say the functionality to our button. So the very first thing to check over is that we need to pop an alert whenever any of the field is empty, either password is empty or email is empty, right? So as we learned that there is something called as on click for button. So on click we will be calling a function, right, called as submit. So we will call something called as on submit. Okay? And we will create a new function called as on submit, right? So let on the submit. Okay, and once we click on this, we also get something called as event. We will use one function which is present inside event, which is called as prevent default. So what this will do is when we click on submit, it will prevent the page from getting reloaded. Okay, and then we will just check if any of the field is empty, we need to show the alert, right? So if not of email, right, so this specifies that if the string is empty, then we need to do something. Okay, so let's just try to add condition if not of email or not of password, right? So if any of the thing is empty, we need to alert the user. So by default I'm using alert provided by JavaScript, but we'll be changing this in a while to use what React Strap actually provides. Okay, so we will add 8 sims, password or email is empty. Okay, this enter them before submitting the form, right? Quite easy. So we are going to do that. So and on submit is not being called as of now. It will be on submit. Okay, just save it. Right now we don't have anything, right? So if I click on submit, email and password is empty for me, and you see that we get a pop-up. It's saying that password or email is empty. Please enter them. Okay. So now what we can do is we can use this from React Strap. So we have something called as alert over here. Let's just try to use it. And this alert can also be, what we say, controlled via state. So I will do this part. So there's one more thing which I would like to add over here. I will like to wrap this entire form inside div, just to make sure that we provide styling to this div later. And then we need to use alert, right? So I will import alert over here, and as per the documentation I will just grab this. Okay, and I will add it over here. Okay, so we have two things over here as of now, is open and toggle. So is open will be nothing but state of the alert, like whether we want to show the alert or not. Okay, and toggle will be to hide and show the, what we say, the state of this what alert. Okay, so let's just create a new state over here. Const visible and set visible, use state. So as of now I am using false. Okay, and on toggle we have something called as on dismiss. So let's create a new function called as let on dismiss be something. Okay, and remember we have learned something in our previous section where how can we toggle the state while working on boolean. So what I will do is set visible, I will get the previous value and set the opposite of what I'm getting. Okay, so that on dismiss this will work as it is. Just save it. You won't see anything on the screen as of now. Okay, because we haven't enabled it. So let's just try to keep it as true and see whether we are getting alert or not. Yeah, so we are getting an alert over here. Okay, so I am an alert, and so if I close it, you see that the state got disappeared. Okay, sounds good. So now let's just try to revert it back to false. But there's one more thing which we want to make sure is that we want to set this message to, right? Because whatever message you specify inside this will be listed. So now in order to avoid one more state render, what I will do is I will use ref over here. So I will create a ref called as alert message, right? I will create a ref called as alert message, and we will use ref over here. Okay, so let's just copy this message and add it over here. Okay, and instead of alerting now we will be changing the state, right? Set, oh I should not do this, I should call on dismiss, because this will toggle the state for me. I will call on dismiss. Okay, because this should toggle the state for me as of now, and inside this I will show my custom message, which is nothing but what we wrote over here. It's alert message, and since we are using ref, everything is stored inside an object called as current, so we can access value using current. Okay, so dot okay, sounds good. We forgot to import ref over here, so we will be using use ref. Okay, so now I think we are good with this, but we forgot to add an functionality for reset button, so we will be adding that over here too. So again, on click we will have reset the form. Okay, we will have reset the form, we will, and this will be another function. So let's call something called as reset the form, and while resetting the form we want to make sure that we set the fields which were already filled to empty. So in this case we have two fields, which is nothing but email and password, so we will again set them to empty, right? So set email to empty object and set password to empty object, right? So this is as simple as this. I will just save this stuff, I will just reload it. Let's just try to submit it, so we see the error. Let's just try to fill some value, try to reset it, we see that it's getting reset over here. Okay, okay, sounds good. Now what we can do is we can try adding some css, so just to make sure things are looking good. Okay, this is the field. Okay, so this is my form over here. But I, since we have wrapped in this inside div, we will provide styling to this div. We have already done this, but let's do one more time. So display field be flex. The width I want is nothing but 100%. The height I want of this is nothing but 60 vh. Okay, just justify content to center and line items to enter. So now we have everything at the center. Okay, and just to keep it proper, just to add some padding, I will wrap this inside another div. So if I go over here and if I take a look at this form group, we have something called as label, right? And this label also accepts something called as class. So if I add a margin over here, margin means, just to give a brief padding over the four borders, I can write something called as 0.5 VW. So you see the margin and alignment is changing, right? So, and I also want to do it for form group. If I can provide margin as 0.5 VW. Yeah, so it's looking little better now. So we can just go ahead and add stylings. So I will create a new CSS file over here. Inside this re-extract demo, let's create a new file which is called as form demo.css. Okay, let me just keep it open side by side. So now let's just try providing class name, what we did in earlier session. So class name. So the class name is going to be form container. Form class name is nothing but form container. I will just get this stuff. I will paste it, and I will get the CSS from this. Uh, just a second. I will get CSS from here itself. What we have written. So just copy this, paste this stuff over here, and we have something called as form group. This also accepts something called as class name. So I will add form group form group. So let's just copy this class name again, just paste it over here, and again also I want to provide margin to it. So let's just provide something called as 1 bit w. Okay. And we have another form group which can use the same class name for us. So this is the another form group. Okay. And then again we have this label. So class name as form label label. So I will create a new class over here, form label, and the margin which I want to provide over here is nothing but 0.5, just smaller than what we are using. And we have another label with us. So let's just try to use it over here for password. Okay. So we have couple of things ready with us, and let's just import CSS at the top from the same file. So import dot slash form form demo.css. Okay, we have imported the CSS, and let's just try to add some padding to these buttons. So what I will do is I will wrap this inside a div. Okay, and I will also provide a class name called as action buttons. Okay, so we will take this part, we'll get rid of this, we don't need this. I will come to my CSS, add this class name. Again, the display is going to be flexed, and we want to show the buttons in row. So the flex direction will be nothing but row now. Okay, justify content to center and align items to center. Okay, I'll just save this part, and I will save all this stuff which we are having and see whether we are getting. It's saying that form demo.css is not present, but we already have form demo in our file. Let's try to reload it one more time. Did I missed something? Oh, I just misspelled the CSS file name. I will just rename it to form demo. So rm form demo. Now it's working. Now we have some good looking UI comparatively to what we had earlier. Just indent this button a bit. So if I click over here on this button, uh, line items should be sent. Justify content. Let's just try to add a space between these buttons. So there are multiple options available. So space evenly tries to evenly space all the contents inside that specific width. Then space between it manages space between two buttons which are already there, and space around also does the same stuff. So you can try playing around with this. So as of now, space evenly is looking good. And so I will just copy this part, and we have applied this CSS to action buttons. So I will go over here, and inside this action button I will just replace this. So now things should work fine for us. Just reload to make sure everything is loading as expected, and let's just try to submit this. Okay, so we see the error, but we want to make sure that we show that in column like below this form. Okay, so let's just try to do that too. So div. Okay, so we haven't specified the direction where we want to show this. So flex direction will be column. Just save this and see that this is now aligned in column. But also let's just try to provide some width and height to this. So I will provide class name, which will be nothing but alert action. Okay, so you can provide any class name which you would like to. I am just providing this as alert action again. So for me, the width will be as of now of 50%. So width will be of 50%, and I want to show. I want to add a margin again. I will add a margin of 0.5 VW. Just save this stuff and see. So now we have a pretty decent UI compared to what we were having earlier. Okay, so yeah, you can also toggle it if you want. So if I click on submit, so it says that it seems that the password or email is empty. Please enter them before submitting the form. And we also have pretty things ready with us. If I try to add something, submit. Yeah. So if I try to add something, submit, reset, everything is working fine. But there's one more issue which we saw. Like if I try to submit form, we are getting error. If I try to write something and submit it, you see that the toggle is getting disappeared. But we want to show the toggle even though the password is empty, right? So I think we'll make some changes in the app. So we won't be calling on dismiss over here. We will be calling something called as set visible to true, because we want to always show the what we say, the alert whenever any of this field is missing, right? Just save this part and try to recheck it. So we get it. If I try to write something, submit, now nothing will happen because we have already filled it. Reset this, it resets the form, and on click this should disappear. I think this should also accept some props which should automatically fade the alert box. So I can copy this. Just try to add this prop, fade to true. I'm not sure it takes any props like delay or something like that. It doesn't take it. So let's just see what happens. Okay. So so let's just try to do something. Okay, so we have done with this part now. So this is how you can make some forms in React along with action buttons which are available. But I want to not sure why this icon is not loading properly. I think uh, so it seems that the class name which we applied is not getting polluted, right? So alert action. So alert action is there. So alert action is getting occupied. So I will just decrease the width over here to somewhat. Okay, it's aligning. Okay, it doesn't matter. Like we can deal with CSS later, but this is how you can declare the form and add some actions. Okay, so what I will do is I will again add this to snipper.io. You guys can just go ahead and play around with this so that you just get the brief context, like how can you work with React stuff. Okay, so I'll just copy this part, open in my other terminal, just grab everything at one place now. Okay, so snipper.io, we'll create a new file which is called as formdemo.js. Create, just paste it over here, create new file formdemo.css. This is a CSS file, just create it. I will just get the CSS. uh, by the way, I got to know why we are seeing such bold text, because I had my browser zoomed, so that's the reason the UI was not looking that great. But now if I try to do it, you should see something much prettier than what we were seeing earlier. So yeah, so you guys can play around with it. Also, if we can add something, let's just try to see if we can reduce the height of this alert, sorry, width of this alert, with the 40. So width of 30 is looking good, so we can copy this. And so instead of width of 50, we will do this thing. Okay, save it. I will copy this. I will go to Snipper and paste this here. And I will also update the index.js for you guys, so you guys can take a quick look at that. Yeah. So I mean that's it for the form part. Any questions you guys have, or issues you are facing while working on this? Uh, okay, so since we don't have any questions, I think we are good to go with couple of other stuff. We will wait for just 5 to 10 minutes so that you guys can complete this out, and then we can start with a simple demo application which we will be developing, which is nothing but a simple to do app where you can add your to dos and remove your to do as a part of this session. And once we are done with that, we will just create git account so that you can push up whatever we have learned in this session to your own repository. Mm, Uh, can we go ahead? Just let me know in the chat box so that uh, I got to know like whether we are on the same track or there are any issues with the same stuff.
Sir, we can also set an alert for submit button.
Yeah, we can set. We can also set the. We have already done that, right?
No,
Uh,
after entering email and password. Maybe
yeah,
because that is after validation or
yeah. We can add that. So what you can do is you can create a new state over here, which will hold that alert state. Okay, and then you can add a new alert message like submission message. Okay, and then you can do the same thing what we did over here. So create a new alert, something like this. If I copy this, uh, is open will be something like submit visible. Yeah, or I can say alert on submission. Alert on submission. So so you can create a new state which will be alert on submission, and you can create a what we say new function which will be on dismiss submission, something like that. On dismiss
or could it
submission.
be on submit?
uh, on submit like over here on this button click.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we can do is we can also do that part. So on submit, yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say, but we need to show one more alert, right,
Yeah.
over here. Okay, so what we can do is now instead of doing this thing, there's another way of doing this. We can keep all of this stuff same. Okay, but what we can do is we are toggling the visibility of the alert, right? So what we can do is over here we can add a new condition. So since we are already checking if we don't have email or password, then we are doing set visibility to true, right? And if it's present, then else we can add something like same thing. We can do the same thing, set visible to true. But now what we can do is we can create, we can change the alert message to something. Okay, so let's say every time I want to change the alert message. Okay, so let's just keep it as empty as of now. Okay, so I will keep it as empty. Okay, right now I don't have any message available with me. When I change this, my state will get changed, and also I can update the message which is present inside the ref. Okay, so it will be something like alert message dot current will have this thing. This message will pop up when we don't have anything entered, or else we can have another method, something called as alert message dot current. This message will occur when you have successfully submitted the form, right? So it will be something like form, so rm form submitted successfully. Okay, this message will arise. So there's one more factor to it. So let's say you want to change the color of the alert. So what we can do is we can maintain a new state over here which will be specifying the color of the alert. So it will be something like alert color, and set the alert color. Use state. We can use info by default. Okay, and let's say now what we will do is now we will just change this color to what alert color. So whatever color is specified in this state, with that color I want to render the alert, right? So it will be something like alert color. Okay, so by default what we are doing is we are using info, but let's say if some error occurs, right? So I can change the alert color over here. So set the alert color to something, it can be either danger, and over here we can add set the alert color to success. Okay, so now what will happen is that whenever you try to submit the form, if fields are not empty, then this thing will get triggered. So in this case we will see an alert which is having this message and color as red. But in this case if both are present and if you try to submit, then in this case the color of the alert will get changed to green and you should see this message. Okay, so just try to see this if we are getting it right. On submit we get red
Sorry.
color pop up. Okay, now let's just try to fill up the form, do something, submit, you get green color popped up, right? If I
Okay.
change it without doing anything, submit, change to red, right?
Okay.
So you can do the same stuff. I can add this in paper.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Just to note over here, like I'm not concentrating much on the UI part as of now. It's just to provide the brief, like how can you install libraries and use them on the go, as well as debug if some issue arises. You can play around with this stuff later and try to figure out like. So right now I'm seeing one issue is that the icon over here is not similar to what they have shown in their documentation for alert. I'm not sure why it's occurring. So right now I'm not concentrating on all such parts. So you can just take a look at all these things later uh, once we are done with this session. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
We'll wait just for 5 minutes and then we will start developing a to-do list. Okay, so in this to-do list, what we'll do is we'll try to follow some good principles while coding, like segregating things into separate files so that they are easier to track and maintain. Okay, even though this is a single application, what we'll do is we'll try to segregate things like moving all the messages in one file and trying to use them across all other components. Okay, and also we'll give you a brief like how it's useful in segregating things into different files. Okay. Okay, I think I can go ahead now. I will start with developing to-do list as of now. Okay, so I will just close other stuff which is already present over here. Okay, and instead of using this project, I think I can go ahead and create a new project as of now, which is app 2. S- so I created two projects, one with yarn and one with npm. So since to do list is completely new project, what I will do is I will use this app 2 for creating a to do list completely from scratch. So I will just rename it as of now to something like webinar to do list. Okay, I will open it and I will just try to run this in code in Visual Studio Code. Okay. So, so I will close the previous project which was present with me. Uh, right now, in this app, I don't have anything present with me. I just have, one yarn lock and I don't have any other things present with me. Okay. So I will just try to clear a couple of things like in app.js. We don't need all those stuff. Will be simple. That's it. It will be simple template. Okay, I don't need. Let's just try to keep index.css, but I don't need app.css. We'll just delete this part, and I also don't need this logo.svg. I will just delete this part. From public, I don't need this logo. I also don't need this. So I will delete this part. So and yeah, that's it. I think we have other things ready with us. So now what we will do is now we will try to develop one of the applications from scratch. So let me just try to run this server my in my browser. So if you guys want, you can continue in the what we say same project which we are currently performing demos, or you can create a separate project called as to do list and then start working on it. So it's saying that did we delete index.html? Oh yeah, we deleted the entire. Just a second. Yeah, so we have public available with us. I will just delete this. I don't need logo and all the stuff. Okay, so let's start it again. Okay, so I have to-do list. I will just change the title from React to to-do list. So instead of React app, this should be something called as to-do list. So we are changing index.html in a file. Okay, so that's it. Now let's just try to understand what are features do we need in our to-do list. Okay, so we'll try to create a very simple to-do list where if a we will have a search bar and a button. Okay, so whenever someone what we say clicks on add to do, what we'll do is we'll try to populate the list with the to dos which we have created. Okay, so we'll have something called as search bar. Okay, and search bar will be associated with that button as of now. Okay, and what should happen when we click, we should populate to dos. Okay, so we should populate to dos. Okay, then the second thing will be there, like let's say if we populated to do, what actions should be available with respect to each to do, right? So what I can do is if I have multiple to dos available over here, right? So what should be the features available with me as of now? So the first feature which I can do is I can delete the to do, a very basic delete the to do. The second functionality will be to mark it as done. So mark unmark as done, something like that. Mark unmark as done. The third thing can be like delete all, delete all to do set. So this is nothing but something a very basic to do list can offer to us. So we'll just try to mimic all these functionalities. Okay. And note, this is not we don't have any backend as of now, so whenever you try to refresh the page, your all the to dos will get lost. So let's say, I recall that this session also, sorry, previous session also had node tutorials, right? So what you can do is you can combine node where you will have your backend with some database. And what you can do is, we have already learned how to make an API equal to the backend, right? So you can create some database at the backend where you will be storing all your to-dos, and you will be using your front end to retrieve that to-dos, right? So as of now, we will be completely concentrating on the React part, that is nothing but front end parts, and we'll try to see how can we mimic this. Okay, so now let's just try to understand what data structure we will like to use over here. Okay, since to-dos can be stored in a form of list, what we'll be doing is we'll be using list over here, a simple array, right? And that array, so each to do must have something, right? So each to do will have something. So we will have whether, we'll check whether it's checked. So this checked will be nothing but a boolean value. So this will signify whether my to do is marked as done or it's not marked. Okay, so if this is true, then we'll show a checkbox ticked in our to do list, and if it's not, then we'll show false. Okay, then we will have something called as message, and this message will be something called a string. Okay, so this is pretty simple data structure which we are going to use over here, a array of objects where we will have only two things with respect to each to do, where we will just check whether that to do is marked or whether we have a message. Okay, if someone clicks on delete button, then we obviously want to remove it from the list, so we are not maintaining that info as of now. Okay, but you can, you can make it, you can add another field like a deleted. Okay, so this can be also a boolean. Okay, and you can just toggle it if it's deleted. So if it's deleted, you maintain it in your list but don't delete it. Okay, and let's say if someone says restore previous to do, then you, what you can do is you can iterate through the list, okay, and mark this as true. So I think we can do it in later if we have some time, but as of now what we will be doing is if someone clicks on delete button in any of the to do, then we will just remove it from the list completely. Okay, so as of now we'll be following this structure. Okay, so if I go to back to my app, as of now I have nothing available with me. I just have a single app over here. Okay, so I will just rename it to do as of now. Instead of app, I will rename it to do. And inside index.js, instead of app, we want to import to do. So this will be nothing but to do, and this will be also to do. So this should save and compile successfully. But as we said that we'll be trying to mimic the best behaviors which we can use for development. So what we will do is we will create new directory over here which is called as components. So whatever components which we create for our project will go inside this component folder. Then we will create a new folder over here which is called as styles. So all the styles associated with that to do or the app which we are trying to build will be handled inside this. Okay, S- and I will create a new file over here which is called as constants.js. Okay, so what this file will do is we will try to store all the messages or the alert or pop-ups which we will be showing to user, right? If something wrong happens. So let's say if I have a project which is having multiple pages and same component is being used across all pages, right? So we won't end up making it duplicate at multiple places, right? So let's say if I take a look at the button name, I have declared the same button at page A and also declare the same button at page B, right? So there is no need to duplicate it. We can use the same thing from the single file itself. right? So it's easier to maintain, and changing at single place will reflect at all other places where it's used. Okay, so we will create a new file called as constants. What I will do is, this todo.js will be, I will move this todo.js inside constant. So I will just cut it and paste it inside constant, sorry, not constant, inside components. And index.js just update the route where it's gone. Okay, so for that it's present inside components, and we have to do. Okay, now we should be all set with the file structure. This is relatively simple file structure. And now we will be learning one more thing over here. Like, instead of creating .css file, we will create files with different extension, which is called as .module.css. Okay, there's a reason why we are doing it. We will come to know this in a while. So let's just create a new style file. Okay, which will be nothing but todo.module.css. Okay, so instead of .css, I am naming it with something called as .module.css. Okay. Okay, sounds good. And now I will create a new file which is called as global.css. So while we created this file, okay, so this global.css will be, responsible for manipulating css of other items which are present in the DOM. Okay, so let's say I have this if I'm using react strap library, right, and each and every library will have some tags and style associated with it. Okay, so let's say I want to override this style, so all those styles will come inside global, and the name itself is suggesting that all the overriding of styles present from different components or the libraries which we are using should be strictly written inside global.css, and that's what the name suggests. Okay, then we have something called as todo.module.css. Okay, so the reason I named it as .module.css is that all the css with respect to only to do component should be listed inside this to do. Okay, so all the style which you specify inside this component will be applied only to to-do component, and it won't apply to the global files which are already present or the libraries which are already present. And there's a different way in which we need to import this file and use it. And you will also see the difference in the way the class names are written while using this module.css and while using .css. Okay, so we'll be also taking a look at those parts. So for to do, this is going to be to do for us, and we are also going to export to do. Okay, there are a couple of things which we want to install over here. We haven't installed it because since this is the new project for me, I will install yarn add. I will install two things, bootstrap and react strap. I will install bootstrap and react strp. So these are two things which are required for us. So we will wait until it's get installed. Also in index.js, they specified that we need to add something, right? So we need to add this CSS file in inside index.js. Right now I am inside index.js. I will import this file. Okay. So also there's an another way. So let's say if you don't want to install Bootstrap on your system, then what you can do is you can use CDN. So instead of installing Bootstrap, what we can do is we can just install React Strap. Okay, and inside your index.html, okay, you can pass this to script. So you can copy this. Okay, and inside index.html, likely with other script tags, something like this script. Okay, inside this script you can pass source as this. Okay, and this should do the work for you. Okay, so if you don't want to install bootstrap, then this is the alternative, but since we are installing the bootstrap, we won't be using this approach. Okay, so I have things ready with me now. Let's just start the development server. I'll close the existing one. Okay, so now we have things ready with us. Okay, so just close the unnecessary modules. Right now, to do doesn't accept any props, so we will leave it as it is. And then this is the parent tag, so div will be nothing but our parent tag. Okay, so now inside this to do I need one thing which is nothing but a single input bar and a search bar. Okay, so basically I will create a new div over here whose class name will be something. Okay, so let me just try to open this over here. Okay. And let's say this is a container, so it will also have some class name. Okay, so since we are using classes, we will use dot operator to reference that class. If you might be using id, then instead of this dot you can use hash. So this will be something like to do container. So to do container is going to be there, and the display is going to be flex, the flex direction which we want. So we want to display every items in column. Okay, so this is going to be there, and we'll just provide a padding now. So padding so that it's aligned slightly towards left, right, top and bottom from the screen. So padding of just I think 5 VW should work for us. Now there's a different way to import this file. Okay, since it's named as .module.css and not .css, what you need to do is you need to import it something like this. Import style from. Okay, so import style from dot slash, it's in same directory, right? So to do dot module dot css, right? So now what this style object, so this style which we imported will be a object, and this object will have reference to all the css. Okay, so this class name should go with this to do container, right? So how can I reference it? So this class name will be nothing but now style of, so this is an object, so style of something like to do container. Okay, so this is how you reference the modules, and this is how you import css modules into your file. Just save it. Let me just remove class name from here for time being. Just write to do list. So let's just try to see the difference. To do dot module dot css is not found. It's because it's present inside styles and not inside components. Dot slash styles slash to do dot mo. We are importing it from styles. Now we have things ready. So if I just inspect it now and try to see this, just a second, just a second. Did I missed something? Make sure the right name is been added. Yeah, so now you can see the padding over here. So if I go over here and see, you can see there's a small change in way css is, sorry, this class name is written. So it's something like file name, like the name of the component provided by the name of the class name and some hash. Okay, so how does it benefit us? Okay, I can also give a idea about how different css are written. So if I go and try to inspect any of this, and if you take a look over here, it's nothing but simply class name, right? But inside our to-do list, if I go and inspect, you see there is a change in way class is written, right? So how it's written by file name followed by class name which we have provided in our module.css file and some hash. Okay, so how is it beneficial to us? So let's say if you have a couple of applications available with you, and those are basically micro front ends, okay, in nature. So your application A, okay, is reading something from application B. Okay, so what really happens is that when all of this thing gets mounted on your DOM, it's possible that the application or the micro front end which you are consuming also has the same class name with what you have added in your code, right? So now it's possible that any one of the class name will get overridden. It's possible that the style of component B might get overridden, or style of component A might get overridden. Okay, so how can you avoid it? So you can avoid it using this modules, and this is the safest way to write css, so that this will make sure that even though we have same class name, so Let's say I have another component which is also having the same class name called as to do container. Those two class names won't get conflicted, and they will use their individual classes and styles. So this is where the benefit of modules comes into picture. So while development, we should always make sure that whenever we create this style file, instead of .css, we should always make use of module.css, so that respective style is applied to respective component. Okay. And now the question arises, like, what if I want to override the existing css of other components, right? So that's why we created this file, right? Global.css. Okay. And what you can do is you can import this global.css in your index.js file, so that whatever global styles are present inside this can be overridden. So let's say if you want to override style of component b, right? So you can specify that inside global.css, so it becomes easy in identifying, like, from where the conflict is coming or from where the code is written, right? So it becomes easy to identify and debug. So starting with the code, we just have a small to do container, and we just have a small style associated with it. 5 EW, it's quite a big padding. I will just make it to 2. Okay, so 2 seems reasonably good. Just provide the width of 100%. Okay. Overflow should be hidden. We don't want to see the scroll bar either horizontally or vertically. Okay. Because we can add a scroll bar to the list which we will be developing. Okay, so this is the basic styling which we have added to this. Okay, so now what we want is we want a search bar and a button, right? I will create a new class name which will be referenced again using style, and the name will be nothing but to do input action. Okay, to do input actions. I will copy this part, I will paste it over here. Again, the display is going to be flexed. I want to see button and search bar side by side horizontally, so flex direction will be row. Okay. Align items will be center, and justify content should be flex start. I don't want to align the search bar at the center. Okay, so this is the basic thing, and you can provide a margin if you want. So I will provide a margin of 0.5 so that it's oriented properly. So inside this we need two things. We need a input, and we need a search. So let's just go and try to find the component if there are any. So we have something called as input group, or we can directly use input like this. Okay, so I will directly use input like this, which we did earlier from form. So if I go down and take a look at the email, I will just take a look at this part. So just copy this entire thing and add it over here. Just close this part. Okay, so now the type is not email, so the type is simply the text. Name, we are not using name anywhere, so it's not required, but we can provide it for safety. This can be to do input, to do input, something like to do input text. ID, we are not using ID. Okay, placeholder. So instead of hard coding this over here, now what I will do is I will add this constant. So I will create a constant over here, something like to do input placeholder message. Okay, so let's say if I have some, if I am using, if I want to use the same message at different component, then I will not have to rewrite it again. I will just use the existing message which is present inside the component and use it, right? Similar to library which we are importing over here. So this message is nothing but something like please enter to do. Okay, a very simple message, and just export it. So we will just export it something like to do input. Okay, okay, and then we'll come over here and we'll just import it from constants. So we want to import something from constants, and it's present outside, so I will go in constant. and just write the name. So it's nothing but to do input placeholder message, and the same message we will be displaying inside text box. So to do input placeholder message. Okay, sounds good to me. Now, if I go and check my to-do list, input is not defined because we haven't imported it from React Strap. So just import it from React Strap, React scripts, React Strap. We want put over here. Okay, save it and just check it again. Waiting for reload. Okay, so now we have a to do over here, but it's too long. So let's just try to minimize this a bit. So this is to do container, this is to do action. So I want its width to be 50% of the main child, right? 50 or 40, whatever looks good. So I think 30 might look a bit, or 20. I think we can go on with 20. So what we did was that this to do container, okay, is having some padding and it's having width of 100%, and I want to make sure that this input tag has just width of 20%. Okay, so we will just take this 20% and add it in our styles, which is nothing but this small. Okay, so input actions with this 20%, and now I want a button over here, UTT button over here. Okay, so we have imported button from bootstrap. I don't want to import button from bootstrap. Just try to see if I can get some button. So we can import button from React Stack. Okay. Input is already there, button is already there. We will have button, and this button text we will add something like, we will also add it over here. Const add to do button text. It will be something like add to do. I just export it from the constants. Add to do button text. Okay, save it. Also import it over here. uh, right now you might be wondering that why am I am doing so, because we just have minimalistic code to write. But let's say if you have very big project where you have lots of components and lots of declaration, then this really becomes useful for reusing it at multiple places. So we will follow the same approach, like what we which are the best standards of writing code. So add to do button text, and we want button text to be this thing, add to do over here. And this button, let's just add some styling to this button. uh, so so color is there and size is there. We will go with this thing. So, okay, instead of primary, what I will do is I will write success. Size is going to be small. We will be adding event handlers later, just to make sure the width is proper. Just try to increase width to 30. Okay. Okay. So just like content center, 9 items. Actually, we added the style to this. Justify. So what we can do is we can remove the margin of this. So if we're just trying to align the width of the button as of now. Border radius is also there. Just seeing why it's not expecting. Let me just try to make it large. Okay, it doesn't matter, we can keep this as it is as of now. But I want to also provide class name over here. So just provide class name to this button, which will be style of something like to do button. So this will be something like add to do button. Okay. So I will just pick up the class name. I'll just add it over here. I want margin left of around. I want to display button at specific offset from left hand side. So I will use 0.2 VW. This is viewport width. I will just save it. Just load it. So you see there's a small and so if we can change it to just add so that it's displayed properly. So now it's displayed properly. Okay. Instead of add to do, we can use just add. I'm not sure why our button is not working properly. So let's just try to find it out if we can. If I go over here, if I try to increase the width to 50%, and if I try to change the content inside this button, add to do, so it's eventually occupying the entire space. Okay, so we can keep as add as of now instead of add to do, and we can just increment this a bit. From small to we can use large buttons. Let's save it to load. It's not looking good. Okay, we can go on with small then. It's looking proper. For color I can use info. Oh, it's not looking good. Okay, so now we have this thing ready with us, like we have text bar ready with us and we have add button available with us. Okay. So now let's just try to create couple of states, like one state for storing what user enters in that text field, and this is what we have done something earlier. So const I'm gonna use a state to um, keep a track of to do, okay, what user enters in that text box. So to do, and then so it can be to do text. Just set the to do text to something. Okay. Right now in input we are having nothing, so the value is going to be to do text. So this is similar to what we did in forms. And on change we will be, what we will be doing is we will be calling a function called as on change. So let's say on exchange, we will be calling this function, and I will create a new function over here, let on exchange. So on exchange, we accept some event, okay, and we will just set to do text to event dot target dot value. Okay, so this will update the state for me, and we have already seen this in action. So this is done. Okay, now we will add something for button. So on click of button we want to add a new to do, right? So on click, so on click I will call a function called as add to do. Okay, let's just create a new function called as add to do. Let add to do. Okay, and what we'll be doing is we will be creating a new state for maintaining the to do, right? So I will have to do's, and then I will have something like set to do's. I'm gonna use state. So now as we decided we will be using states like this, right? So right now we don't have anything, right? So the list is completely empty, so we can start with this thing, right? And this is the empty list. So right now our to do's is empty, and once we try to add to do, what we can do is we can provide the default value of checked as false. Okay, so what we can do is once someone clicks on this button, someone clicks on add to do. Okay, so what I will do is I will update the to do list. So add to do's. So now what I will do is I will try to get the previous to do's which were available for me. Yes. And we also studied like why we are using this mechanism rather than stating the updating the state directly, so that let's say if there are multiple component reminders from different places, then we get the right values. Okay, and what are we going to return? So what we will be doing is we will be returning something called as dot previous to do's which we already have. Okay, so there's something, just a second, we made a syntax blunder over here. So what we will be returning is we will be returning a new array, right, which should have my previous to do's as well as the new to do which we will be adding, right? So new to do will have two things, right? So it should have two things as of now. It should have whether it's checked and the message. So let's just try to add it in the list. So what should we have? We should have message over here. Okay, and this message will be nothing but the to do text which we are setting. So it will be nothing but to do text which we are setting, and we will have something called as is checked. So is checked, by default we will keep it as false because the to do is not completed as of yet. Okay, now let's just try to understand what we did over here. So initially we were having empty array, and as specified, when I click on add to do, we should add a new to do. Okay, so if I consider an example over here, right? So let's assume that my list is empty as of now. Okay, when I click on add to do, I want to add a new to do. So what I did over here was that I took the existing items from this list which was already present, right? So I just took existing items from this list which was already present and returned the new list which is having one more item in it, which is nothing but latest to do which we are going to add. So just to give you the brief, so let's say I already have some to do's present. Let's try to over here. Let's say I already have some to do's present. So message, this is my first to do, this is my first to do. Okay, and if I type is checked, this is my object which we are trying to create is false, right? So now let's say if I create on add to do again with the new to do, then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all the data which is already present inside this list using this dot operator. So this three dot and this signifies that get all the items which were already present in this state, so which were already present in the to do. So before adding a new to do, we had this state, right? So we are trying to get this state. Okay, and along with that, what we are trying to do is we are trying to add a new item which we want to add. So in this case we are adding this object. Okay, and this eventually signifies that we want to add it in an array. So that's what we'll be doing. So when we'll be adding a new to do, we will get the same object with the new message, something like this. So this will be something like my second to do. Okay, so let's just try to see this in action, what we are trying to convey. So to print it, whenever any state change occurs, let me just console.log the to do's as of now. So if I click on to do, save it, I will close other tabs, inspect this browser window. So this is the app right now. If I go to console, you see array of 0. Okay, right, you see we have nothing in the array as of now. But let's say if I write something called as first to do, and I click on add, now you see that we have one object in our array, right? And this is nothing but my first to do which was already there, and it's not marked, it's not completed yet. Similarly, if I try to write something as second to do and click on add, you should have two objects in your list, which is nothing but first to do and my second to do. So this is what we are trying to do over here. We are trying to get the previous values which were present, and we are adding the new value. To give more context to it, uh, just to give more context to it, we can just try debugging this, and this is what we have already done in the past. Just go to sources, navigate where you have your file. So this is my file. Just add a debugger over here. Okay, so I will add a debugger over here. I will open it side by side. I will close this tab. Okay, so let's just try to add a to do. Okay, so if you take a look at the uh, debugger, if I hit enter, what's in my previous to do? You see I have array of two items, which is first to do and second to do. Okay, and then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add a new context to it. So if I click on it, you see we get three items now in the console. So this is what we are trying to do. We can add a couple of validations later, so we can check if that specific to do is present in list or not before adding it. So we can do all those stuff over here, but this is the first step of the application, creating a simple text box. And now we are going to do the hello, hello. I think I lost my connection. Am I
Yeah, yeah.
audible now?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Swapnil audible.
Hello.
हाँ स्वप्निल ऑडिबल. हेलो स्वप्निल.
सर बोलते
Hello.
त्यांचं पुन्हा
हाँ यू आर
कनेक्शन गेलं.
ऑडिबल, यू आर ऑडिबल स्वप्निल.
बट फ्रीज झालंय फ्रीज.
स्वप्निल यू आर ऑडिबल. हेलो. अच्छा यू हैव लॉस्ट कनेक्शन. Yes, all the participant he is joining shortly. So some, yeah, it's okay Swapnil.
To-do list. Okay, so now we are getting what's expected. Okay, so and the remaining part will be to list down the to-dos, right? So how can we do that? So we are already having array of items over here, right, which is required. So what we will do is to list the items, we will create a one more component. Okay, we will create a new component called as to-do list.js. Okay, so this component will be responsible for listing all the items, which is nothing but all the to-dos which we have to. Okay, so I will create a sample thing over here. Let's just try to import it over here. Since it's in same file, we can directly access it. Now we want to make sure that we just keep it outside the to-do action item. So what we will do is we will add a new component over here, which is nothing but to-do list. And now this to-do list, since it's responsible for displaying all the to-dos, it should also have access to the to-dos which we are displaying over here, right? So what we will be doing is we will be passing a props to this component called as to-dos. So again, this is a key value pair. We have already discussed this. Just save it. Inside this to-do list, we will be accessing this props.
Perhaps what are we expecting? We are expecting to do's over here. Okay. So this is how we accept the prop over here. And now we will be doing two things over here. As of now, if we don't have any to do's, then we will be showing that no to do's available, as we will be displaying the list. Okay. So what we will do is we will have a div over here. Just create a class name with style of, this will be to do list container. Okay. So again, I will be creating a new style file over here.
Hello, Swapnil. Hello, all the participants. There is again a small network issue which is there at Swapnil's side, but he will be back. But now it's almost 12:30, so I think we will take a break now, and sharp at 2 o'clock we will continue with the same. And I just now talked with the Swapnil sir as well, and he will also join with us at 2 o'clock. So Nitin sir, are you there?